end state and how to hold it. Lunar Quantum Jumping Manifestation Course, Part 10. So it's now after I have given you the instructions to the initial lunar ritual, and I will be rolling out various affirmations to assist you while you develop awareness of what it is you intend to manifest when you complete this ritual. Before that, I want to focus on the end state, what it is, and how to stay in it. To begin, let's define. Remember that states are what manifest. States are what we inhabit. Manifestation's goal is changing your state to that of the you who already has what you desire. So the end state is the state of being, the state of mind, of being the person who has what you want, of having moved past wanting to have in order to let this 4D state crystallize out into the 3D. The active manifestation desired is a result of inhabiting the end state and maintaining it. Affirmations and techniques are tools to get into and hold this state. There are also some philosophical understandings and acts that will help with this, and I will explain them. First off, remember that creation is finished. Imagine always that the state desired, the outcome you want, is one of the innumerable extant universes you can experience. Know it is done, and do not spend time worrying or trying to control via your imagination how this will happen. Secondly, reconsider what desire is. Personally, there are many times that I think it would be useful to change the language here and rethink desire as heart directives, or even simply as something that magnetizes you, or your vision. Often when we interact with desire, there can be a sense of clinging, attachment, anxiety, or lack. It can bring up shadow aspects of self, like shame around receiving, or a poor self-concept. When this happens, it is a good opportunity to do shadow work and heal ourselves. But moving forward, consider that instead of your desires simply being a hankering of want that is self-arisen, your heart directives or visions are things that draw you to them as they draw towards you, because in your ideal state, you already have them. You resonate with these things or receive visions about them because they are, on a spiritual and timeless scale, already part of you. Third, you need a good way of letting the old story go so that it doesn't persist into the future and keep your manifestation from showing up the way you want. Whenever you feel doubt or old patterns coming up, you can use Neville's wife's "I remember when" technique. This is basically just acknowledging that yes, this was a thing I thought or experienced or an old state I had. I remember that. And doing this puts into your mind that that was the past and you are currently in a different, better state from which to view that now irrelevant past. This takes away its power to pull you into its old state. It's important to have these functional ways of interacting with old patterns because denying or resisting them will actually create more energy around them, and that's not what you want. Whereas interacting with them in these ways puts you in a position of higher vibration, keeps your state stable, and distances your old state from your current one instead of keeping them entangled together. If you catch yourself spiraling or being brought down by an old pattern or state, this would be a good time to take a break, do a breathing exercise to recenter, and use EFT tapping affirmation method, and perhaps divert your attention to something constructive like scripting or self-concept affirmations. Mental diet is also a key way to stay in the end state. This is being extremely mindful of what you put your attention on, what you allow into your consciousness, and what sorts of things you are saying in your head. Think of mental diet like a physical diet in that if you are combating malnutrition, you may have to do more rigorous work to make up for that deficiency to bring back a healthy state. But if a person's state is reasonably healthy otherwise, the diet is used as a maintenance tool to sustain that. Affirmations, subliminals, embodied imagining, vision boards, and such things are part of good feeding in mental diet, but so are being in a state of contentment and gratitude as you participate in your present life. Recalling that the 3D doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether your current 3D looks like the manifestation you have planned. You should think, act, and as much as possible speak as if it does. A counter note here, though, is that with many manifestations, it can be best not to tell other people about them before they show up, as naysayers and doubters can bring negative energies into the process. Keeping good boundaries with this is also part of your mental diet. Consider also the shows you watch, the music you listen to, and the conversations that you entertain. Are they supportive of your manifestation or not? As much as possible, everything that you put energy into or that you allow into your mind should be aligned with your end state. One of the simplest affirmations for staying in the end state is simply, it is done. Because remember, it is. Staying in the end state often brings about a phase known as the Sabbath, wherein a manifester suddenly feels a sort of pleasant detachment from any need to work on their manifestation, and maybe even a feeling that their state is so good and their self-concept is so high that they don't care whether they get their manifestation or not. They know that they are the positivity they desire, and nothing can take that away from them because they are fully the operant power. Despite this detachment, their manifestation will often show up quickly after this. In these regards, many manifestation coaches suggest that you should aim for a state such as this, and that at some point you should stop thinking about your manifestation entirely, citing that if you had it, you wouldn't think about it. I disagree, because this is illogical. If you had your manifestation, you'd think about it quite often in a mundane manner, but you would cease trying to manifest it because it already happened. An oft misused quote here is, if you were already in Barbados, would you think about going to Barbados? From Neville's teachings. And while it's true that you would certainly not think about going to Barbados if you were already there, you would think about Barbados, things in Barbados, how you are in Barbados on the daily. Therefore, being in the end state isn't about not thinking about your manifestation. It's about no longer thinking about making it happen. It's a shift of mind from bringing it to you to realizing that you are experiencing it now, regardless of what your 3D may show. Remember, the 3D doesn't matter. Therefore, a final note on maintaining the end state is to not react to the 3D when it shows you things that make it seem like your manifestation isn't happening or can't happening. Do not react at all. Persist in your imaginal reality, knowing that the longer you do so, the further along you go on what Neville calls the bridge of incidence. It can be helpful to realize that all mental energy turns into something. The more you maintain it, the more crystallized its outcome. It is much like a seed that you plant and water. You wouldn't dig up a seed every few days to make sure it's rooting because you know that that would actually damage the plant's attempt to grow. It's counterproductive. Instead, you keep tending and watering, knowing each plant has its own gestation time. In much the same way, once you can shift to the end state, your practice becomes maintaining it without doubt or impatience, because this amounts to digging up the seed and damaging it. In regards to time, you may have heard a common goal or affirmation that one can manifest instantly or within 3 days or less. This can be misleading and cause people to grow doubtful when their manifestation doesn't immediately show up the next day. So I want to clarify. It is possible to manifest instantly, but it doesn't mean that your manifestation will show up instantly. Think of it this way. Imagine that you are working at a job that is just not working for you, and you decide to manifest a better work and lifestyle for yourself. You go home, do the 2-cup method, and then listen to affirmations and do scripting for the next couple of days, but nothing changes. Understand that nothing changed according to your senses, and the senses are limited, rooted in the 3D, and should not be relied upon as they also come from or read what's in the past. What you didn't see was a Rube Goldbergian network of chains of events that started that very night, perhaps as an inclination in a stranger's mind or the quitting of a higher paid worker in an entirely different office. It takes an unknown amount of time for these strangers and random conditions to complete the bridge of incidents that will connect you to living a higher paid lifestyle with fewer hours and more sick leave, and perhaps it manifests to you weeks or months later as a chance meeting with a woman whose dog almost tripped you on the street. This process may start instantly, but the maturation is out of our hands. That being said, the more patient and faithful you are about staying in the end state, the faster your manifestation shows up because you did not entertain doubt, lack, or impatience. You did not dig up the seed. Always have faith in the unseen. Let go of needing to know how, when, and why, and just know that it is done. Doubt is mentioned as something to avoid here, but before the end of this talk, I want to detail what I mean. Doubt reinforces that your manifestation isn't here, and your subconscious mind will have no choice but to confirm what you are telling it because remember, it is obedient and objective. So here are some thoughts or questions you must not entertain. I've been affirming for insert length of time. It's still not working. Hasn't it been long enough? Am I doing it wrong? When will it happen? How will it work? All of these come from a lack state, and a lack state is what they will manifest. Lastly, remember that aside from entertaining doubt, you're almost never doing it wrong. Instead, being in the end state is more like, I already got the job. It's so great making double my income. My leg is already healed. She already said yes to my proposal. I already won the concert tickets. I'm so grateful for my successful business. Manifesting is incredibly easy. We do it all the time without thinking about it, for better or worse. It's simply doing it consciously and battling our own negative mental habits that can be challenging. So I encourage you to mind your mental diet as this will help you stay in your end state. Happy manifesting, and now on to the affirmations.